It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hi, everybody. What's happening? Yeah, it is showtime. Geno is here live. It's time for the Geno Jones Daily Variety Show, Monday through Friday, right here, live on my YouTube channel, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're in the East Coast, I'm here in the Carolinas. We've got some severe weather in the area, so just want to lift up in prayer all those that have already been victims of the severe weather and the storms that hit parts of Alabama. I believe there's some storms in Georgia. I know Alabama, parts of Alabama were hit pretty hard. Anybody that was affected by this severe weather, we want to lift you and your family up in prayer. And for those who may not believe in prayer, I apologize if I offended you. I meant no harm. I try to be, I don't try. I make it a goal to respect everybody and everybody's right to believe or not believe. Everybody's differences, even if I don't agree. The Geno Jones Show, brought to you today by my good friends, Lockwood Outdoor Advertising. Lockwood.com. It's LockwoodOutdoor.com. LockwoodOutdoor.com. Converting cars into cash. It is the only black-owned outdoor digital advertising company here in the state of South Carolina. So before too many folks get tired, you know, we are in this racial reckoning, and I know that window's probably not going to stay open that long while there is a reckoning and there is a heightened level of awareness, recognition, acknowledgement, all those good words, all those good things in terms of how people of color, especially African Americans, and we must include our indigenous Native American brothers and sisters, and our brown brothers and sisters, our Hispanic brothers and sisters, and our Asian brothers and sisters. I'm going to get into that conversation. That's going to be my commentary, my monologue for today. All right, so, but we got to support black businesses, because if we don't, nobody else will. So that is a prime goal right here on the Geno Jones Show, supporting African American businesses, because disproportionately African American businesses have never been supported properly. As a matter of fact, if anything, they've been, in too many cases, they've been destroyed by just, you know, racism and hate and white nationalism. That's a whole nother show. So I've done that topic, so that's not today's topic, but just want to point out some historical facts. Just one of the many reasons why it's so important to support black businesses. So LockwoodOutdoor.com, check them out. LockwoodOutdoor.com, beautiful, giant digital billboard. Put your companies, your goods, your services, your products, your business's name up in lights. Even if you're not here in the Carolinas, this is a huge tourist destination. So, and if you got a product where people can shop with you and do business with you and purchase your product online, then Lockwood Outdoor Advertising, that's the company for you. Like I said, check them out, LockwoodOutdoor.com. All right, let me get into today's monologue, all right? No guests today, short monologue, special commentary. Two wrongs don't make a right. Let me say that again. Two wrongs don't make a right. Something that my grandparents, my grandmother, Geno Jones, and my grandfather, Conway Jones, and my mother, who's watching me right now, would always tell me as a little boy. They're like, Jeannie, two wrongs don't make a right. What does that mean? How does that apply to today? There's been just a very alarming increase in Asian American hate, just racism, what we're seeing now, that so many Asian Americans are encountering all around America. And it's been there, but it's been heightened because certain people thought it was funny and cool to call COVID-19, the racial slurs that he called it. I'm not even going to repeat it. I'm not even going to do that. But you've heard the terms. Yes. How this virus was referred to. Doesn't matter where it came from. It's here now. And the virus doesn't care where it came from or who you are or what your ethnicity is. Yesterday, there was a story. We briefly talked about it here yesterday in basically Metro Atlanta. There were two parlors, two spas, I should say. There were two spas in the city of Atlanta and one in Metro Atlanta where 8 people were killed. 6 of those people were Asian women. Now, Asian women, they have suffered, they are victims of racial tropes, not like the racial tropes that black women for years, decades, centuries have had to deal with, the racial and sexual tropes. They're not the same, they're different, but nonetheless, it's still racial stereotypes and tropes. When I talk about tropes, just certain ideologies and phrases and sayings that, all Asian women are this or all black women are that. When I talk about racial tropes, that's what I mean. And now these racial tropes have turned violent in many cases, deadly. You could argue deadly in the situation in Atlanta and Metro Atlanta. So there have been many people of all backgrounds, of all races, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, those from India, white Americans that have just said, listen, this is unacceptable. Racism, hate, bigotry, misogyny, sexism, hate in any form against one group of people is hate against all group of people. Because that same hate that's directed toward Asians has been directed toward African Americans and Native Americans since we have been brought here. Well, the Native Americans were already here. We as African Americans, the first Africans were brought to these shores 402 years ago. So at the core and at the root of that same hate of what people, this concept of whiteness or white supremacy or white nationalism, which is really weird because the whole concept of whiteness has evolved because you have a lot of quote unquote white people who weren't considered white 150, 200 years ago. Let's see, Germans weren't considered white, especially here in America back in the mid-1800s, late 1800s. Irish weren't necessarily considered white. Italians weren't necessarily considered white. So just hate in any form, if it's directed toward anybody, that same hate and energy can be directed toward us. Yesterday I read a poem, the poem that I talked about. It's a German pastor. And it said, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a unionist. Then they came for the Jews, but I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one to speak for me. So why do I say that? I just want to kind of elaborate on something. The elephant in the room when it comes to African Americans and the Asian American community. There has been a complicated history between Black Americans and Asian Americans growing up, especially in larger cities, and not just here in America. As a matter of fact, in China last year, certain cities in China, Africans, people of African descent who have gone to live in China were racially targeted, and they were basically discriminated against. They were almost basically kidnapped. They were treated differently than the Chinese people. I guess you could call them the indigenous people, the Chinese, native, those who are natives of the country of China. That just happened last year. And we know for years, we have to be honest about this, we've known for years, many of us, we've seen and experienced when it comes to a lot of beauty supply stores in many of our African American neighborhoods in our big cities for years. They've been owned by Asian Americans, the Koreans, or those from China or Taiwan or somewhere in Asia. There's been tension between those communities. You've had language barriers. And there have been acts of racism, and African Americans have been viewed and treated in a very racist way by some of those business owners. You could make the same argument. I'm sure some are watching me right now, saying some of the same things have happened in certain nail salons. But collectively, what we must understand, like I said, today there's this alarming just spike in anti-Asian hate. Trust me, those same people who are displaying that racism and hate toward the Asian American community don't like black folks. They hate us too. They don't like the Hispanic community. They don't like Muslim Americans. Many of them are very misogynistic and sexist and have no love for the LGBTQ community. But also, basically, that it would be very easy for them to turn and transfer that hate against Asian Americans toward hate toward Black Americans, toward Hispanic Americans, Afro-Latino brothers and sisters, our Native American brothers and sisters, our Muslim brothers and sisters, our gay and lesbian and trans brothers and sisters, our women. As a matter of fact, I have to give credit. I was having a conversation with my wife last night. She said, those people, actually, no, let me correct myself. It was my mother. Mother, I got to give you credit. Thank you. You did tell. I think it was you. It might have been you and Damaris that said they hate themselves. Anyone that has that much hate for a person just because of the color of their skin, they, at the core of that, if you drill down and take a deep dive and find out, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, what is the root? What is at the root of that pathology? Those people hate themselves. So it's easy to turn that hate and transfer that hate toward Asian Americans or African Americans or Hispanic Americans or Muslim Americans or Native Americans or women or gay and lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer. It's very easy to transfer that hate and direct that hate towards some other group that they look down upon for whatever reason, because their skin pigmentation is darker, or they pray to a different god, or their sexual orientation or preference is different than what that person feels it should be. Or a lot of times those people are wrestling with their own sexual identity. And there's some hatred about trying to reconcile their own sexual identity. And that confusion and hate, self-hate, they manifest it, and it manifests itself in the form of hate toward another innocent person. So in closing, two wrongs don't make a right. I've heard and read and had conversations to where, there have been in very fair, legitimate conversations with some other black people who have made the point, the argument, very fair. It's not racist at all. It's like, well, wait a minute. I don't recall seeing Asian Americans really trying to come to the rescue for black Americans. Like, it seems so many black Americans are really speaking up and speaking out and coming to the rescue of African Americans. They said they never saw that. Where, in all fairness, there have been Asian Americans that have spoken out against police brutality, against just racism in general. There has been. So if we're gonna tell it, we're gonna tell the whole story, both sides, good and bad. All three sides. There's a saying, there's three sides to every story. Your side, my side, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So the truth is, yes, there's a history of tensions for years in certain communities between African Americans and Asian Americans. But we could make the same argument that there have been tensions among African Americans and Hispanic Americans in certain cities. There was a time in the 90s where there were some problematic situations and tensions between the black and brown community in Los Angeles. I know because I lived in Los Angeles, where in Houston, from the people that I know and talk to, I could be wrong. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I've been told that for whatever reason, it seems like when those tensions were happening between black and brown communities in Los Angeles, the black and brown communities, let's say in Texas, like Houston, didn't necessarily have the same problems and the tensions that they had in Los Angeles. So yes, we acknowledge that at times, there's been tension between black Americans and white Americans for 402 years. So if we're going to use that curve to grade on, heck, we'd be in a whole lot of trouble. Really. I've said for years that just imagine if black Americans if they really wanted revenge against the racism and the white supremacy and everything that brought along, just from the enslaving of people and the selling off of family members, the murder, the lynching, the rape. Can you imagine if black Americans wanted revenge as opposed to just equity, just to be allowed to be the best versions of themselves and not to have different sets of rules and not to have people change the rules of the game in the middle of the game? Once we start winning, don't all of a sudden say we got to change the way these voting laws. We can't let people vote on Sundays, and we got to close down these voting locations, these polling places and voting locations in these black neighborhoods because they turn out and they vote in high numbers. And we can't allow them to have power. Can you imagine if we reacted collectively in a violent way, wanting revenge as opposed to just fairness and equity? It would be a different story, and it would be ugly. It would not be pretty. So my message today, ending my commentary, we have to remember, especially I'm speaking to my brothers and sisters here, African American, and really because this applies to everybody, because there are tensions between Christians and Muslims and Hindus, because we have to embrace our differences and learn of each other's cultures. Well, one thing that we will learn when we get to learn more about other people's cultures, we will learn that we really, as corny as it sounds to some people, the truth is we learn that we really have more in common than we do apart. We want to live our best life. We want to be as healthy as we can. We want our families to be healthy. We want them to be safe. We want our kids to have a great life, to get a great education, to not be bullied, to be the best versions of themselves. We want our kids to go on and to take the baton, to be even bigger and better, to be more successful and more productive, to be more advanced, better citizens, citizens of humanity, citizens of the human race, global citizens. We want them to be even better than we are, because that is what evolution is all about. Evolving is about the next generation being a little better than the last generation. And the last generation being the teachers and the mentors and giving them the roadmap, the next generation, so they can advance. Then the generation after that go another step up. And we keep advancing this thing called humanity and the human race, and until it ends. And none of us know when it's going to end. Tomorrow's not promised to anybody. So to my African American brothers and sisters, and really everybody, like I said, I don't want to single out, but since there's been such a focus, because there's been so many incidents of Asian American hate, attacks, killings, verbal harassment, just so many incidents of just Asian American hate in so many forms, especially since last year when COVID-19 hit. And it's really rearing its ugly head here in America. That, yeah, we as black people, we should speak up. We should stand up. We should use our platforms, our celebrity, our basic humanity to speak up and take up and protect our Asian American brothers and sisters. Because remember the German poem. First they came for the socialists. We could say today they're coming for the Asian American brothers and sisters. But remember, as black people, they are always coming for us. They have always come for us, and they are still coming for us. And the same folks that's coming for the Asian American brothers and sisters and the Hispanic American brothers and sisters, they haven't forgot about the Native American brothers and sisters, and they damn sure haven't forgot about black folks. They are always, that form of hate and evil is always coming for black folks. So if anybody should stand up and want to support, speak out, protect, throw your cape on and say, hold on, partner, what we are not going to do is to allow your hate and bigotry and racism or misogyny and sexism to bully another group of people who you feel is less than you, or you feel is inferior, or that has less power and status than you do in this country and in this society. We're not having it. Not on my watch. Not on our watch. That's what we have to do. You know why? Because karma is something that is real. The laws of the universe. Whether you believe in God, whether you are a person of faith, one thing I promise you, as my grandfather said, just keep living long enough and you will see for yourself the energy that you send out into the world, you attract it back to you. Oh yes, that karma, that energy, good or bad, whatever you send out into that world, it is coming back to you. And in some cases, it will come back to somebody that you love. So if you send a lot of negative energy out, all that negative energy might not come back to you. It might come back to your children. It might come back to your sibling. It could come back to your parents. So be very, very careful. Karma's real. You don't have to believe me. Keep living, but be careful how you treat people. Because that karma is coming back on you. Oh, it may take a while. You may skate and think that you've gotten away with it and forgotten about it and treat people like crap and done it for years. But one day, when you least expect it, bam, all of a sudden, then bam, you get hit again. Then bam, you hit again. And what is happening? People coming at me, lawsuits and this happening, and folks that I thought that, you know, that were loyal. Be very careful how you treat people. As corny as it sounds, treat people the way that you want to be treated. This basic law of humanity. Okay? So we really are. We really, really are our brothers and sisters' keeper. So let's do that. So, to all my Asian brothers and sisters, you're not alone in this. We got you. We got your back. Yeah, we want you to make sure that you have our back too, because we really all in this together. The same people that hate you, the same people that want to kill you, the same people, that same energy that's killing you, they want to kill us. And they've been killing us. And our Hispanic brothers and sisters, and our Muslim brothers and sisters, and our Native American brothers and sisters, and our gay and lesbian and queer and bisexual and trans brothers and sisters, and our women, the misogyny and sexism, all that energy, all that hate, all that evil is all tied together. This is the same energy. So we got your back. Make sure you get our back. We got to get each other's back. Because today, they may be coming for you. Tomorrow, they could come for me. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Daily Variety Show, Monday through Friday, right here, live on my YouTube channel, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Those in the Southeast dealing with severe weather and tornadoes, be careful. Once again, I lift up in prayer the families of those that have already been victims of this outbreak of tornadoes and severe weather. States like Alabama, Georgia, parts of Georgia, I think even Mississippi, maybe parts of Louisiana, even some parts of the northern part of Florida. So anyone that's been victimized from this latest outbreak of severe weather, we lift you up in prayer also. The Geno Jones Daily Variety Show brought to you by Lockwood Outdoor Advertising, converting cars into cash. The only black-owned outdoor digital advertising company here in the state of South Carolina. But they can advertise your product no matter where you are. You got an online business, or you want to attract this huge tourism business here in the Carolinas, make sure you contact my friends at Lockwood Outdoor Advertising. It's LockwoodOutdoor.com. LockwoodOutdoor.com. Bruce Gage, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show, got me popping my collar, pow. Check him out on Instagram, Bruce Gage, G-A-G-E, Bruce Gage, G-A-G-E. Also check out his flyballthestore.com. So you'll see all that online, flyballthestore.com. And the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show is Markel Bailey. What up, Kel? Coming to see you, player. Yes, sir. Check him out on Instagram, Kel B. Cuttin. C is K-E-L-C-U-T-T-I-N. No, actually, K-E-L-B-E-C-U-T-T-I-N. Dude, it's your own show. Get it right. Kel B. Cuttin. K-E-L-B-E-C-U-T-T-I-N. Kel B. Cuttin on Instagram. Tomorrow, Friday, the weekend review. Hey, spring arrives on Saturday. Yes, the first day of spring comes this Saturday. So last weekend, we lost an hour of sleep. How you doing? Have you you recovered? Are you still a little jet lagged? Because sometimes, like I said, it'll hit you. Like I think it really hit me last night. And that usually happens anytime I turn the clocks up. I'm good. So Sunday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, I turned them up. So Sunday, I was good. Monday, I was good. Tuesday, I was good. Last night, I think it hit me because I slept straight through. And then woke up this morning, it was like, I'm gonna just lay here just for a little longer. So, but this weekend, Saturday, the first day of spring arrives, okay? So every Friday I do a weekend review. We kind of recap the week, anything major happening that weekend, and kind of tease what's happening the following week. So the weekend review edition of the Geno Jones Show will be live right here on my YouTube channel tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, be blessed. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.